Living the Perfect Life, an audiobook, written for your journey toward the life you were always meant to live. Chapter 1. The Life You Were Born to Live. Close your eyes for a moment, not literally because you are listening to these words, but close the eyes of the rushing, restless part of your mind, the part that is always scrolling, always comparing, always wondering if somewhere out there, someone else is living a better version of your life. Now breathe, because I want to tell you something important right at the start of our time together, something that I hope you carry with you long after these words fade into silence. The perfect life is not somewhere ahead of you. It is not waiting behind a promotion, a relationship, a number on a scale, or a balance in your bank account. The perfect life is not a destination you have been failing to reach. It is something you build moment by moment with the choices and the awareness and the courage you bring to each ordinary day. That might sound simple. It might even sound like something you have heard before. But hear me out, because there is a world of difference between knowing something and truly living it. And that difference is exactly what this book is about. We live in a world that is obsessed with perfection. Magazines show us flawless faces. Social media feeds show us glittering holidays, immaculate homes, beautiful families, and bodies that look like they were sculpted by someone who had nothing else to do. We scroll through all of it, and somewhere in the quiet spaces between each swipe, a small voice inside us whispers that we are not enough, that our life is somehow missing something, that the real version of happiness is just out of reach. But here is what nobody tells you in those glossy images. Behind every curated photograph is a real person with real fears, real struggles, and real moments of doubt. The couple smiling on that beach had an argument the morning before the photo was taken. The entrepreneur with the perfect home office spent 3 years eating instant noodles and wondering if they had made a terrible mistake. The woman who looks effortlessly beautiful cried herself to sleep last Tuesday. This is not said to diminish anyone or to make you feel better about settling for less. It is said because the first step toward living a truly magnificent life is releasing the fantasy of perfection that was never real to begin with and replacing it with something far more powerful. Reality. Honest, warm, breathing, laughing, sometimes messy, deeply human reality. The perfect life is not the absence of problems. It is not a permanent state of bliss where nothing ever goes wrong. It is a life lived with intention, with love, with purpose, and with the quiet, unshakable knowledge that you are exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what matters most, becoming exactly who you were always meant to become. That life is available to you, not someday, now. Let us begin. Chapter 2. Know Yourself. There is an ancient inscription carved into the stone at the Temple of Apollo in Delphi, Greece. 2 words that philosophers, warriors, poets, and seekers have been pondering for thousands of years. It sounds so simple. You have been living inside your own mind for every single day of your existence. You would think that knowing yourself would be the one thing you had completely covered by now. And yet most of us spend our entire lives running from ourselves. We fill our days with noise and busyness and distraction. We reach for our phones the moment we wake up. Before we have even had a single quiet thought of our own, we keep ourselves so occupied with other people's opinions, other people's news, and other people's drama that we rarely sit still long enough to ask the most important question of all. Who am I? What do I actually want? What truly matters to me? Not what your parents wanted for you, not what your friends expect, not what society tells you success looks like. What do you want? Deep down, in the place that exists before the opinions of the world got in, who are you? Self-knowledge is the foundation of everything. You cannot build a life you love on top of beliefs you have never examined. You cannot make choices that align with your values if you have never taken the time to figure out what your values actually are. So let us do that together right now. Think about the last time you felt completely alive. Not just happy in a surface level, everything is going fine kind of way, but deeply, vibrantly alive. The kind of moment where time seemed to expand and your whole being felt lit from within. Where were you? What were you doing? Who were you with? Maybe it was creating something with your hands. Maybe it was standing at the top of a mountain or the edge of the ocean. Maybe it was a long, honest conversation with someone you love. Maybe it was teaching someone something or learning something new yourself. Maybe it was cooking a meal, tending a garden, running until your lungs burned, or sitting in perfect silence watching the sun go down. That moment, that feeling, that is a clue about who you are and what your life needs more of. Now think about the times you have felt most drained, most hollow, most like you were going through the motions of a life that did not quite fit. What were you doing? What were you pretending not to notice? Those moments are clues too. They are the places where you have been living out of alignment with who you truly are. Self-knowledge is not a single revelation. It is not one big moment where everything suddenly becomes clear. It is a practice, a daily, gentle, honest turning inward. It is the willingness to look at yourself with curiosity instead of judgment. To say, with kindness, I notice this about myself, and I wonder what it means. The most extraordinary lives are lived by people who know themselves, not perfect people, not people without flaws or struggles or contradictions, but people who are honest about who they are, what they need, and where they are going. Start there. Start with yourself. Everything else flows from that. Chapter 3. The Art of Letting Go. If knowing yourself is the foundation, then letting go is the clearing of the land. Before you can build something beautiful, you have to remove the rubble of everything that no longer serves you. And most of us are carrying a tremendous amount of rubble. Old beliefs that were planted in us when we were children, back when we were too young to question them. You are not smart enough. You are too much. You are not enough. Money is hard to come by. People like us do not get to have that kind of life. You have to struggle to deserve anything good. These beliefs live deep in the soil of who we are. We may not even be able to name them. We just feel their weight in the choices we do not make, the dreams we do not chase, the love we hold back because some part of us does not believe we are worthy of receiving it fully. Then there is the weight of old grudges, the people who hurt us, who let us down, who left or stayed in all the wrong ways. We carry them around like stones in our pockets, and we wonder why we feel so heavy. And there is the weight of regret, the chances not taken, the words left unsaid, the version of ourselves we chose not to become, and the quiet grief that sometimes visits us in the still hours of the night. Letting go does not mean pretending none of it happened. It does not mean the hurt was not real, or that the regret is not valid, or that the beliefs we were taught were not genuinely believed by the people who taught them. Letting go means choosing consciously and deliberately not to let the past determine your future. It means saying, that happened, it shaped me, and I am not defined by it. There is a beautiful concept that comes from certain spiritual traditions, the idea that we must hold everything in life loosely, not clutching, not grasping, not white-knuckling our way through existence trying to control every outcome, but open-handed, present, available to whatever life brings without being destroyed by what it takes away. This does not mean passivity. It does not mean giving up on things that matter. It means recognizing the difference between effort and control. You can give everything you have to something, work for it, love it, invest in it completely, and still hold the outcome loosely. Because ultimately, you cannot control the outcome of anything. You can only control yourself. And when you truly understand that, something remarkable happens. You become free. Freedom is not found in having everything under control. Freedom is found in releasing the illusion that control was ever possible. When you stop trying to grip the river, you can finally learn to swim. Take a breath. Think about something you have been holding on to, something that has been keeping you stuck or small or afraid. Is it an old story about who you are? Is it anger at someone who wronged you? Is it a version of the future you have decided must look a certain way in order for you to be happy? What would happen if you let it go? Not all at once, not with perfection, but gently, today, a little more than yesterday. Chapter 4. The Miracle of Small Things. We are conditioned to believe that the great moments of a life are the big ones. The wedding day, the promotion, the graduation, the arrival of a child, the bucket list item finally crossed off. And those moments are extraordinary. But here is the truth that often hides in plain sight. Your life is not made of those moments. Your life is made of everything in between. It is made of Tuesday mornings, of the smell of coffee before the house wakes up, of the sound of rain on a window, of the way a stranger smiled at you once when you were having a terrible day, of phone calls that went on 3 hours longer than planned, of the first bite of something delicious, of the feeling of cool sheets and a tired body finally resting. If you wait for the big moments to feel alive, you will spend most of your life waiting. The people who live with the deepest sense of joy and fulfillment are not those with the most extraordinary circumstances. They are the people who have learned to be present enough, awake enough, grateful enough to find the extraordinary inside the ordinary. This is called savoring, and it is one of the most powerful practices available to any human being. Savoring means slowing down enough to actually experience what is happening. It means not racing through dinner while looking at your phone. It means pausing at the top of the stairs and noticing the light coming through the window. It means listening, really listening, when someone you love tells you something instead of waiting for your turn to speak. It means being here, fully here, in this moment, in this body, in this life. There is a concept in Japanese culture called ichigo ichie. It translates roughly to one time, one meeting. The idea is that every encounter, every moment is utterly unique and will never come again. This meal will never taste exactly this way again. This conversation will never happen again. This version of you in this moment with these people will never exist again. When you truly absorb that idea, it changes the way you move through the world. It makes the small things feel sacred, because they are. Your perfect life is not waiting in some distant future. It is assembled right here from the 1,000 small, ordinary moments that you are living right now. Start noticing them. Chapter 5. Relationships, the heart of everything. No matter how successful you become, no matter how much wealth or recognition or achievement you gather, if you go through life without deep and genuine human connection, you will feel the emptiness of it in ways that no amount of success can fill. Study after study, generation after generation, the research says the same thing. The quality of our relationships is the single biggest predictor of our happiness and our health. More than money, more than fame, more than talent or intelligence or luck. The people we love and who love us in return, that is what makes a life rich. And yet so many of us treat our most important relationships as the thing we will get to once everything else is taken care of. Once the work is done, once the stress settles down, once we have a bit more time and energy. But the work is never entirely done. The stress does not fully settle, and time is the one resource none of us can manufacture more of. The people who live the most fulfilling lives know this. They do not wait. They show up. They are present. They invest in the relationships that matter with the same intention and energy they bring to their careers, their health, their goals. What does it mean to truly show up for someone? It means listening without distraction. It means putting the phone down and looking someone in the eyes when they speak. It means asking better questions, not just how was your day, but what made you feel most alive today. Not just are you okay, but I have noticed something seems heavy for you lately, and I am here if you want to talk. It means being honest, not cruelly, not carelessly, but honestly. Saying the things that are real even when they are uncomfortable. Because a relationship built on careful avoidance of all difficult truths is a relationship built on glass. It means being vulnerable. Allowing yourself to be truly known, not just the polished, presentable version of you, but the uncertain, imperfect, occasionally frightened human underneath. Because that is where real intimacy lives, in the space between two people who have decided to stop pretending and start being real. It also means being selective. Not everyone deserves a place at the center of your life. Some relationships are meant to be held at a distance. Some people drain your energy, diminish your spirit, or pull you back into versions of yourself you have worked hard to grow beyond. And it is okay, it is more than okay, it is necessary to create loving distance from those relationships. Protecting your peace is not selfishness, it is wisdom. But the people who light you up, who challenge you to grow, who celebrate your joy and sit with you in your pain, who make you feel more yourself in their presence than you feel anywhere else, those people are priceless. treat them accordingly. Tell them you love them. Today, not eventually. Today. Chapter 6. Your body, your home. You live inside one body for your entire life, just one. And the relationship you have with that body will color the quality of everything else. Too many of us treat our bodies as inconveniences, as things to be punished for not looking the way they are supposed to look, as machines to be run into the ground and then dragged through the day on caffeine and willpower, as something separate from the real us, the mind, the self, the spirit. But you are not a mind that happens to have a body. You are a whole living being, mind and body so deeply intertwined that everything that happens to one affects the other. Your posture affects your mood. Your sleep affects your thoughts. Your gut affects your emotions. The way you breathe right now, in this moment, is influencing your nervous system, your stress levels, your ability to think clearly and feel fully. Taking care of your body is not vanity. It is one of the most profound acts of self-respect available to you. And it does not have to be complicated. The basics, done consistently over time, make a staggering difference. Move every day, not necessarily in a gym, not necessarily in any structured or impressive way. Just move, walk, dance in your kitchen, stretch in the morning, take the stairs, find some form of movement that you actually enjoy, because the exercise you will do is always better than the exercise you will not. Sleep. Please sleep. We have built a culture that treats exhaustion as a badge of honor and rest as laziness. But sleep is not a luxury. It is a biological necessity. When you are consistently well rested, you are sharper, calmer, kinder, more creative, more resilient, and more joyful. Nothing hacks your potential faster than chronic sleep deprivation, and nothing restores it faster than finally giving your body the rest it has been asking for. Eat food that nourishes you, not with obsession or guilt or an exhausting set of rules, but with basic care and attention. What you put into your body matters, not because a number on a scale determines your worth, but because the food you eat becomes the cells you are made of, the energy you have, the mood you carry, the life you live. And drink water, more water than you think you need. Right now, actually, you are probably at least a little bit dehydrated. Beyond the basics, pay attention to what your body is telling you. It is always communicating. Tension in your shoulders is often stress you have not processed. Fatigue that sleep does not fix might be grief or sadness in disguise. Chronic pain sometimes has roots in emotional wounds that have not been addressed. Your body is not your enemy, it is your oldest, most faithful ally. Treat it accordingly. Chapter 7. The Power of Purpose. There is a Japanese concept called ikigai. It is often translated as a reason for being. Your ikigai is the place where 4 things overlap: what you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for, or more broadly, what creates value for others. Finding your ikigai, your purpose, is one of the most transformative things you can do for the quality of your life. Purpose does not mean you have to change the world in some sweeping, dramatic way. It does not mean you need to quit your job and start a charity or move to a remote village and build wells. Purpose is more personal than that, more intimate. Purpose is the feeling of waking up in the morning and knowing why you are getting out of bed. It is the sense that what you do matters, that your presence in the world is not incidental but meaningful. For some people, purpose is found in their work. They wake up genuinely excited about what they create or contribute or build or solve. For others, purpose lives outside of work entirely. It lives in raising children with love and intention, in making art, in serving a community, in being the person who always shows up when someone needs help. Some people have one clear purpose that defines their life. Others have many overlapping purposes that shift and evolve as they grow. Neither is better, both are valid. The key is to move toward the things that make you feel meaningful, not just busy. Because busy and purposeful are entirely different feelings. Busy exhausts you. Purpose energizes you even when the work is hard. How do you find your purpose if it is not clear to you yet? Start by following your curiosity rather than trying to manufacture passion. Passion is often described as this blazing, obvious fire that you will just know when you feel it. But for most people, it does not arrive that way. It grows slowly, from consistent engagement with things that spark your interest. What topics do you find yourself drawn to even when no one is asking you to care about them? What problems in the world frustrate you so much that you wish someone would fix them? Is there a version of you, a braver, freer version that would be doing something different than what you are doing now? What would that look like? You do not have to have it all figured out to start moving in the right direction. You just have to take the next step toward the things that light you up and trust that the path will become clearer as you walk it. Chapter 8: Abundance and the Money Question. We need to talk about money, not because money is the most important thing, it is not, but because the relationship most people have with money is one of the biggest sources of stress, fear, and limitation in their lives, and it does not have to be. Money is a tool, a powerful one, with real consequences in real life. Pretending it does not matter or that wanting it is somehow shallow is not wisdom, it is avoidance, and it tends to leave people feeling powerless about one of the most practical aspects of daily existence. The perfect life includes financial peace, not necessarily great wealth, not necessarily private jets or designer everything, but the quiet, solid comfort of knowing that your needs are met, that you are not one unexpected bill away from crisis, that you have enough and a little more, and that money does not occupy the center of your anxiety. That kind of peace is available to more people than believe it is. But it requires honesty. It requires looking at your finances clearly and without shame. It requires understanding where your money actually goes and making deliberate choices about whether that is where you want it to go. Our relationship with money is usually learned early. If you grew up in a home where money was scarce and scary, you may carry an unconscious belief that financial security is something that happens to other people. If you grew up in abundance, you may have never developed the discipline of careful stewardship. If money in your family was tied to conflict or control, you may have a complicated emotional tangle around it that surfaces in ways you do not always recognize. Unraveling those old stories is part of the work. Because if you believe deep down that you are not the kind of person who gets to be financially secure, your behavior will quietly confirm that belief. Abundance is first a mindset. That does not mean that mindset is everything, or that positive thinking replaces actual planning and action. But it means that before any practical strategy can work, you have to believe that it can work for you. You are allowed to earn well. You are allowed to want financial security. You are allowed to build wealth thoughtfully and share it generously. You are allowed to stop feeling guilty for wanting more than just survival. From that place of permission, the practical work becomes so much clearer. Chapter 9: Resilience, Your Greatest Superpower. Here is a truth about the perfect life that no one puts in the brochure. It will include difficulty. It will include loss. It will include days when the ground shifts beneath you and everything you thought was solid turns out to be uncertain. This is not a flaw in the design. This is the design. A life without challenge would not be a perfect life. It would be a hollow one, because it is precisely the hard things, the losses, the failures, the long dark nights that forge the depth of character, the compassion, the perspective, and the resilience that make a life truly extraordinary. The question is never whether difficulty will come. It will. The question is who you will be when it does. Resilience is not the ability to avoid pain. It is the ability to move through pain without losing yourself. It is the knowledge, built slowly through experience, that you have survived hard things before, that you are stronger than you sometimes give yourself credit for, that even in the worst moments, when the world feels like it is ending, there is something in you that does not break. Resilient people are not stoic. They are not tough in the performative, nothing touches me kind of way. In fact, research suggests that emotional resilience is closely connected to emotional openness. The people who bounce back most effectively from adversity are often those who allow themselves to fully feel what they are feeling, grieve when they need to grieve, be afraid when fear is appropriate, and ask for help when they need it. Resilience is not about going it alone. It is about knowing how to draw on every resource available to you, including the people who love you when life gets hard. It is also about the story you tell yourself about what happens to you. Two people can experience the same setback. One concludes that this happened to me because I am not good enough, and the world is cruel and nothing ever works out. The other concludes that this happened and it was painful, and I will learn from it, and I will find a way forward. Both stories are optional. You get to choose. Every difficulty in your life contains a gift if you are willing to look for it. Not immediately, not while you are in the middle of it. But with some time and distance, most people can look back at the hardest chapters of their lives and see that it was exactly those chapters that gave them something they could not have gotten any other way. Strength, clarity, compassion, a deeper understanding of what really matters. Your hard times are not evidence that you are doing life wrong. They are evidence that you are doing life fully, bravely, humanly. Chapter 10. The Practice of Gratitude. We have talked about purpose and relationships and resilience and self-knowledge, but underneath all of it, threading through everything like a golden wire, is one practice that transforms the experience of life more reliably than almost anything else. Gratitude. Not the polite surface-level gratitude of saying please and thank you, but the deep, practiced, intentional recognition of what is already good and beautiful and worthy of appreciation in your life right now. This is not the same as toxic positivity. You do not have to pretend things are fine when they are not. You do not have to plaster a smile over genuine pain or dismiss real struggle with a simple count your blessings. But here is what decades of research on happiness consistently show. Our brains have a negativity bias. We are wired by millions of years of evolution to notice what is wrong, what is dangerous, what is missing. This kept our ancestors alive. It is a remarkable survival mechanism, and it is an exhausting way to experience the one life you have. Gratitude is not denial, it is retraining. It is the deliberate practice of redirecting your attention, not away from what is hard, but toward what is also true. And what is also true is that alongside every difficulty, there is almost always something that is worthy of appreciation. Your lungs are breathing right now without you having to think about it. Somewhere in your life, there is at least one person who is glad you exist. You have made it through every hard day you have faced so far. 100% success rate on surviving difficult days. That is remarkable. The practice is simple. Every day, before you sleep, identify 3 specific things you are grateful for. Not generic things, not just family, health, and roof over my head. Specific things. The way your friend laughed this afternoon. The cup of tea that was exactly the right temperature. The fact that a problem you were worried about turned out to be manageable. Specificity is what makes gratitude powerful. It forces you to actually pay attention to your life, to look at it closely enough to find the detail in it. And when you start looking that closely, you start finding beauty in places you never noticed before. Do this practice for 30 days and watch what happens to the way you experience your life. Not because your circumstances will have changed, but because you will have changed the lens through which you see them. Chapter 11. Designing your days. You do not find time for the things that matter. You make it. You design it. You protect it. Your days do not just happen. They are shaped by your habits, your rhythms, your choices about how to spend the most finite and irreplaceable resource you have, the hours of your life. The people who live with the most joy and intention are almost universally people who have thought carefully about how they structure their time, not rigidly, not with every hour scheduled and optimized within an inch of its life, but with purpose, with a clear sense of what matters most, and a life designed to reflect that. What does your average day say about what you value? Look at how you actually spend your time, not how you think you spend it or how you intend to spend it, and you will have an honest picture of your priorities. If you say that your family is the most important thing in your life, but you spend 12 hours a day at work and most of your evenings scrolling, that is a gap worth noticing. Not to make yourself feel guilty, but to ask, is this how I want to spend this one irreplaceable day? The morning is powerful. However you start your day tends to set the tone for everything that follows. and most people start their day by handing their attention over to everyone else before they have had a single moment of their own. They pick up the phone, flood their minds with news and notifications and other people's urgency, and then wonder why they spend the rest of the day feeling reactive and scattered. What if you protected just the first 30 minutes of your morning, used it for something that belongs entirely to you? Not email, not social media, something nourishing, movement, stillness, journaling, reading something that stretches your thinking, sitting with your coffee and actually tasting it. Those 30 minutes compounded over a year become over 180 hours of intentional time. That is more than 4 full working weeks returned to your life. Evenings matter too. How you end the day affects the quality of your sleep and your mood the next morning. A quiet, gentle wind-down creates the conditions for genuine rest. An evening spent in overstimulation creates a restless mind that struggles to let go. Design your days, not perfectly, not rigidly, but intentionally, with the understanding that the life you want is built one chosen hour at a time. Chapter 12. Growth, the endless adventure. One of the deepest human needs is the need to grow, to learn, to expand, to become more than we were yesterday. When we stop growing, something in us begins to wither. Not dramatically, not overnight, but slowly, quietly we start to feel stale, restless, vaguely dissatisfied in a way we cannot quite name. The perfect life is a life in motion, always reaching towards something, always curious, always willing to be changed by what it discovers. This does not mean constant striving. It does not mean that you are never allowed to rest or to be content with where you are. Contentment and growth are not opposites. You can be deeply at peace with your life and still be reaching, still be curious, still be excited about what you do not yet know. Read widely and hungrily. Read things that challenge your assumptions. Read stories from lives different from yours. Read history and science and philosophy and poetry. Read things that make you laugh and things that make you uncomfortable. There is no better investment in your own mind than the regular, joyful practice of reading. Learn new skills, not because you need to master them or add them to a resume, but because the experience of being a beginner at something reminds you that the world is vast and full of things worth learning. Take a class in something you know nothing about. Try to cook a cuisine you have never made before. Learn 3 chords on a guitar. Grow something from a seed. Travel if you can, not just to famous places, but to the kind of places that require you to navigate unfamiliar things. Where the language is different, the food is strange, and your assumptions about how the world works turn out to be just one of many possible ways. And if you cannot travel geographically, travel within your own city. Go to the neighborhood you have never visited. Eat at the restaurant you always walk past. Attend the event you would normally dismiss as not your kind of thing. Seek out people who are different from you, different in background, in belief, in experience. Listen to them more than you talk. You will be amazed at what they can teach you about the world and about yourself. Growth is not a destination. It is the journey itself, and the journey never has to end. Chapter 13. Forgiveness, the gift you give yourself. We cannot talk about living a perfect life without talking about forgiveness. Because without it, no matter how beautifully you build everything else, you will be carrying a weight that prevents you from rising to your full height. Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood concepts in human life. People resist it because they confuse it with condoning. They think that forgiving someone means saying that what they did was acceptable. It does not. Forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with you. When you carry unforgiveness, you are not hurting the person who hurt you. You are hurting yourself. You are keeping yourself in a constant relationship with the wound. Every time you replay what happened, every time the anger rises, every time you spend mental energy building the case against someone who wronged you, you are the one bleeding. They have moved on. They may not even remember. And here you are, still in the courtroom, still prosecuting a case that will never bring you the verdict you need. Forgiveness is the decision to stop letting someone else's behavior live rent-free in your mind. It is the choice to reclaim that space for something better. It is saying what happened happened. I do not need to keep reliving it. I am choosing to move forward. This does not mean you have to reconcile with everyone who has hurt you. Some people are not safe to have back in your life. Forgiveness and trust are different things. You can forgive someone and still maintain every boundary necessary to protect yourself. You can forgive someone and choose never to speak to them again. You can even forgive someone who has never apologized, who does not deserve your forgiveness by any measure of justice, because the forgiveness is not for them. It is for your freedom, and perhaps the hardest forgiveness of all is the forgiveness of yourself, for the mistakes you have made, for the time you wasted, for the people you hurt even when you did not mean to, for the version of yourself you have not yet become. You were doing the best you could with what you knew and who you were at the time. That is true of everyone, and it is true of you. Let yourself off the hook, not to avoid accountability or to pretend your actions have no consequences, but to stop punishing yourself for being human, to stop withholding your own love from the person who needs it most. Chapter 14. The Courage to Be Yourself. We have covered so much ground together: purpose and gratitude, resilience and relationships, forgiveness and growth. But underneath all of it, there is one thread that ties everything together, one act that makes all the rest possible: the courage to be authentically, unapologetically yourself. This is harder than it sounds. We are social creatures. We are wired to care about belonging, about the approval of others, about fitting into the groups we depend on. For most of human history, being cast out from your community was a genuine threat to survival. The need to be accepted is not shallow or weak, it is ancient and deep. But the world has also given us a remarkable opportunity that previous generations rarely had: the opportunity to choose who we are, to decide consciously how we want to live, what we want to believe, who we want to become. And too many of us squander that opportunity by spending our entire lives trying to be whoever we think everyone else wants us to be. The exhaustion of that performance, the relentless effort of maintaining a version of yourself that is not quite true, the loneliness of being known but never really seen. There is a specific kind of sadness that comes from living a life that fits everyone's expectations but your own. You know who you are. Underneath all the performance, you know. You know what you actually believe and what you have just been told to believe. You know what kind of life genuinely excites you and what kind you have been settling for. You know the dreams you have quietly let go of because they seem too large or too strange or too far from what was expected. What would it feel like to let that real version of you take up a little more space? Not all at once. Not in some dramatic scene where you overturn the table and walk away from everything, but gently, one honest choice at a time. Say the thing you actually think in a meeting instead of the safe thing. Tell someone you love them without waiting for them to say it first. Pursue the interest that feels a little embarrassing because it is not what serious people do. Wear the thing. Order the dish. Take the path that makes no sense to anyone else but somehow feels exactly right to you. The people worth keeping in your life will love the real you more than they ever loved the performance. And the life you build from that authentic place will feel like nothing you have ever experienced before, because it will be yours, truly, deeply, completely yours. Chapter 15. The Perfect Life. We have reached the end of our time together. Or perhaps more accurately, the beginning. Because everything we have talked about today is not a lecture to be filed away. It is an invitation to look at your life with new eyes, to see not just what it is, but what it could be. Not in some distant, perfect future, but in the ordinary, extraordinary, irreplaceable present. The perfect life is not a fantasy. It is not a destination for the lucky few. It is not a reward for those who suffer enough or achieve enough or deserve enough. It is available to you right now, in this exact moment of your exact life. It is a life of genuine self-knowledge, where you have looked honestly at who you are and chosen to live from that truth. It is a life of love, freely given and freely received, where you show up fully for the people who matter and allow them to show up fully for you. It is a life of purpose, where what you do each day connects to something that feels meaningful, even when the work is hard. It is a life in a body that is cared for and respected, where you honor the remarkable instrument you have been given for this one irreplaceable adventure. It is a life of growth and curiosity, where the world remains wonderfully large and endlessly interesting. It is a life of resilience, where the hard things do not break you because you have learned, through every difficult chapter, that you are made of something stronger than you knew. It is a life of gratitude, where every ordinary day contains moments of beauty that you are present and awake enough to notice. And it is a life of forgiveness, where you have laid down the weight of the past and chosen to walk forward with open hands. This life is not perfect in the sense of being flawless. It will have rainy days and wrong turns and moments of doubt and seasons of grief. You will make mistakes. Things will not always go as planned. Some chapters will be hard, but it will be a life that is genuinely, fully, joyfully yours. A life you chose, a life you built, a life that reflects who you are at your deepest and truest and best. And when you look back at it from some distant, quiet evening many years from now, you will know that you lived it. Not someone else's version of it. Not the version you were told to want, but yours. That is the perfect life, and it starts today. Thank you for walking this path with me. Now go and live beautifully.